working. Here we go. Boom. It's doing the same thing. I don't know why. I have me pinned. It shouldn't be doing you. Okay, I've muted you and I'm going to talk and see if I can grab the Zoom. Yes, I have. It's worked. Okay. Let me see. Okay, this is slightly just combobulating morning, but that's okay. Got to keep going. Spacious, what did I say? Exercise, spaciousness, mobility, and awareness. So I feel like all of these things are things that can be found in our bodies. Like our awareness is with us. It's always going to be with us if in a sort of embodied way, because if we're aware, it's coming from here. Even like if we're having like an out of body experience, we still have to have the body to be able to have the out of body experience. So as long as we're alive, our awareness and our body are deeply, deeply connected. Spaciousness, like our awareness of the space around us, just feeling into it. Let yourself breathe and open. And maybe today, like often we just do the inhale up, exhale down, just feel more three-dimensionally into your space. So letting your wings of the lungs radiate out into space, wings of the heart reaching out and opening and feeling that connection into your body, into your organs, so that this is one whole connected body. And we can think about the space outside of ourselves, all the space outside of ourselves and the space inside of ourselves. Like, so if I move my arm through here, there's the space outside and the inside, but I'm moving through the same space, right? It's the same space on the outside and the inside that we're existing in. So just understanding and thinking into that. If you want to fry your brain a little bit, the space outside of me is not different than the space inside of me because it's the same space. So let's play with just the up and downness for a minute. So with our hands, maybe with our breath, finding this vertical up and downness. So having this relationship, like as we exist, like we have relationships with different things. So I might have a relationship with my cat, and it can change on a daily basis depending how we're feeling about each other. I might have a relationship with a painting that I see different things or different stuff is aware for me in any time. So this is just inviting in this relationship to this dimension, the vertical dimension up and down, so that we start to go, oh, and really it's all just a concept anyway, right? There is nothing that is the vertical dimension other than this concept of the vertical dimension. But we can feel into what it is. So that makes it real for us. Maybe making it bigger from the floor to the ceiling, or letting your arms and legs go up so legs can understand that verticality, right? As people on the planet with erect spines walking around, we're vertical most of the time, even though we may be moving through space in the sagittal way. So let's move into the horizontal, the side, and let's just keep it in our hands for a second. So there are sort of energy exercises where you're feeling the energy between your hands, but imagine right now that you're just feeling the space between your hands. So opening out side and feeling that space, right? As I expand my arms, opening them wider and squish them in, the space actually isn't changing, right? I am just moving within the space. So I am moving in this horizontal dimension, the sideness with my arms. And again, feeling the expansion. I can imagine it from inside my body out to the edge, radiating outward and then coming back in. So there's like a kind of core distal relationship out and in, opening and closing. And then forward and backward, we're moving into sagittal, but let's just do it in our hands first. So moving forward and backward, you could even hold the space. So I'm going to show you like this, holding the space in that forward and backward way, right? I'm holding the space, but it's all around me too. So it's like, it's not different space. It's all the same space. I don't know, it just blows my mind. So now my body just naturally wants to do all three dimensions. So I'm going to move between them, the up downness, the sideness, the forward backwardness. Yeah, and maybe find the sideness with my whole body so I can cross and open. How does it feel to be expanded? And then how does it feel to narrow in and cross, right? Sometimes I need to go out, I need to open it up, and sometimes I need to enclose, right? It's a hug for myself, enclosing into myself, going into that fetal position or curling in enclosing the front of my body, opening and closing. And then with the forward backward, like I can take it forward or I can back it up. And just feeling what that feels like to you as you go forward in space and as you take it back. How is it? Like, oh, I felt really confident going forward. Then I encountered something I really needed to move back quickly. So feeling what that is, like you could take an idea like something, maybe there's something you're putting off. And what if you just move towards it instead of moving away from it, right? Just imagine what is the thing you're putting off and then move towards it and be like, oh yeah, I'm a little closer, right? Even if in your mind you're a little closer, you'll be getting closer. And it could be something that you're feeling ambivalent about, and maybe you do need to back up away from it. So how does it feel if you go, well, maybe I don't actually need to do this thing. Let me back up, let me back away from it, right? And this is just that natural movement of humans walking forward and backward. What if I move into someone else's space? And then what if I back away and take up more space, right? If I move into someone else's space, it's not different than my space. It's the same space all around us. Space is space. All right, enough of that. Let's do a circle on one side, just something a little more three-dimensional, circle on the other. So when it's more three-dimensional, we're just putting them together, right? I've got some forward, backward, some side, side, and some up, down in this movement. As I'm making these circles, flinging my arms around, flinging my wings of the heart. Ew. Sometimes as I'm in my room, like looking around, my head is going from side to side. I see things that I may not have noticed before. And then let's just take it into a regular old horizontal plane twist, looking around behind you, using your breath. The breathing can be in any way that feels good. Ah. And we're going to quiet it down. Let the movement become smaller and smaller. So you're slowing it down, letting the movement become smaller and smaller so that it's almost nothing. Coming in and then letting it come so slow that you can barely see that you're turning. Maybe it's just a little teeny bit. Maybe you just feel a little bit. Come all the way into a relative stillness. And then notice what you feel in your body. You might feel kind of like the trace form of that movement you are doing. There might still be that movement memory on a somatic level in your body. Just letting yourself tune into your own body right now. So we've moved in a bunch of different ways. We did the up, down, side, side, forward, backward. Just feeling the awakeness, the aliveness, the spaciousness of your body. And from there, we're just going to move the pelvis. I'm going to do a figure eight here. So I'm going to circle the hip on one side, circle a hip on the other. If that's confusing for you, or you're like, oh, I'm not quite ready for a figure eight, just do a circle. So circle or a figure eight with your pelvis. And think of getting really relaxed in your guts. So you're not doing this movement by making more tension in your body. You're letting your body move by letting things soften and release. So as I'm circling one hip and circling the other hip, I'm letting the relationship into my spine free up a little bit, relationship into my rib cage free up. So I've got these three big bony areas, pelvis, rib cage, and cranium, and they're kind of moving with this rippling pattern. And I can feel like sometimes when I go for a walk, my lower back gets tight. So I want to let the parts of my body that are working move easier, not move harder, right? They're going to move easier. And I can feel that, letting that come all the way up so that there's this sort of circling or figurating infinity symbol happening within my whole body. I'm going to just shake it out, let it go, and let's take it down to the floor from there. So going down onto the floor. And we'll start with that sitting on your butt and just rolling across one butt cheek and then across the other. So this is sort of that direct relationship to when my lower back gets sore. It's usually because the muscles in my butt or my rotators are tightening too much or pulling too much. So as I roll across, I'm letting the fascia in my body rehydrate, or not rehydrating, it's squishing out and then it's rehydrating because I'm using the floor to massage. I can also stay on one side and kind of wiggle around so that there's more shear as opposed to just rolling across. So everything's going to move a little bit differently when I do it that way. And I could just like rock forward, backward, or I could go side, side, or I could go with a real free form pattern in there. If you need more structure, go forward, backward, go side, side, find some diagonals. But if you're more of a free jazz type, then move your butt around in whatever way feels good, just rippling around or squishing around. Then we're going to take it into a spiral down to the floor. So lift, open, take it down to the floor. When you get down there, reach out your leg, back leg, and then fold it in. Open up, paint the rainbow above you, and take it down. When you get down there, stretch out your leg. Bring it in, open it up, big arm circle, reach down, stretch out that leg, lengthen it away from you. Fold it in, open, open, take it down, stretch out the leg. So there's so many variations we can do on these type of mobility exercises. And most of the time, I just kind of play around with it and think, what would be interesting to do from here, right? How would that feel? Right, you can start to get a flow going with it. Moving through space with some awareness, feeling into what it feels like. Good. Then we're going to change it. We're going to make it a little bit more exciting. You're going to take your hands down. Let's come up onto one knee, lift the other leg up, and then fold it down. So you're going to come around, you're going to come up onto that knee, lift the back leg, take it down. You can see I'm just making this up as I go along. Lift it up, fold it down, roll across. Very gentle, very flowy, very easy. If it hurts to be on your knee, get more padding or don't do it. We're going to change it again after one more. So the next version, we're going to roll across and you're going to step on that foot and come up with your butt to the ceiling, fold it in and come around. Step on that foot, butt up to the ceiling, fold and lower. This is a very baby position, right? Looking up through your legs. I don't know. I have a picture of my dad, I think, when he was like 2 at the beach doing that position. I think I also have a picture of me at the beach in that position, right? One way of getting up. Get to see my butt. Yay. I could do this not facing the not facing the camera with my butt, but hey, we're in an exercise movement class, so who cares? All right, we're going to change it again. So instead of taking your legs up this time, you're going to reach it out, bring it in, fold it under, circle, circle, reach and reach, bring it in, fold it under, circle, circle, reach, reach, in, fold it under, circle, circle, reach, reach, in, fold, circle, circle. This is our last one. Reach, reach, and just come down. So we can just keep moving and getting exercise that way, right? Like adding something, changing something, shifting something. And then we're sort of figuring out what's going on as we're doing it, right? Most exercise that we learn has come from dance, from sports, from military movement. And those have different goals than lifelong healthy movement, right? Like a dancer's career will probably be over pretty young, starting to change, but most dancers get kind of worn out. And the same with sports players, maybe by 35 or 40, it's over. So I'm just thinking of movement as like mobility, something that we're going to be able to do for a long time. Inhale, open, exhale. And I'm not saying don't do the dance movement, don't do the militaristic exercise, don't do the sports. I'm just saying there's other ways of moving as well, or there are. Circle it around. So, it's nice to have some kind of movement pattern program where you're working with that sort of insurance policy of being able to move easily for a long time, right? And I think one of the real keys, especially as people get older, to moving easily is being able to get down and up from the floor or from a chair. Let's change legs, non-dominant leg in front, and we're going to just change the exercise slightly, take it forward, shift from side to side, breathe into your belly, soften in your guts. Feeling into your body. If something hurts, it's always really easy to feel the stuff that hurts, right? It's always like, oh yeah, that hurts. Try to feel the stuff that feels good too, because it's not all hurting. Some parts feel good. All right, bringing it up and taking it down onto our backs. Yeah, I feel like I kind of would like to have a class where all we did was get down to the floor and get up, get down, get up. Often, like when I'm teaching in gyms, like we roll over to the other side and people have a hard time getting from one side to the other, but they can do their strength training exercises really well, but they can't move. So just thinking about how can we make it easier to move? So what we're going to do with that idea is just pour ourselves from one side to the other. So we can start just with the idea of like the water in our body, like a wave, just rolling us over onto one side, melting into the floor. Once you've completely achieved that side, that's very, roll it over to the other side. Yeah, that's capitalistic language. Take it down, achievement. This isn't about achieving. It's just about water flowing from one side to the other. Letting yourself completely melt into the floor, rolling across your body. So if I have, sometimes I do this when my neck or shoulders are tight, is just do this really slow roll from side to side. And much actually slower than what I'm doing right now. Letting my head really relax into the floor and feeling like my bones very heavy, dropping down towards the floor, muscles, fascia, fluids, just renegotiating the space inside my body. Tuning into the breath. Really easy and relaxed. So this is a great way of pouring yourself into the floor. And if we explore the pouring of our body, where we're really moving kind of from the fluids as opposed to the like skeletal musculoskeletal system, we can find different ways of like entering the ground, pouring ourselves across it, and then maybe coming up a little bit, taking it back down. Very gentle, very easy, very fluid, right? I'm just adding that. You can stay, you don't need to come up and down if you don't want to. It just sort of evolved into that. So then you can find more movement as you come up. If you come up, maybe feeling what it feels like to move away, and then melt yourself back down, pouring across the floor. Right, so I'm getting this extra roll across, I'm coming up, and then I'm having this head tail moment, which feels really good, really fluid. And when we start to move in different patterns that are unfamiliar to us, it can be like our nervous system can go, oh my God, what the hell is this? And start to freak out. Maybe not our nervous system. It might be just like, oh, this is really unusual. This feels different. I don't recognize it. And that might be scary. So if that happens to you, that you're starting to expand your movement capacity or your movement vocabulary, then, and you start to feel like, whoa, this feels really weird and it's destabilizing and uncomfortable, then just stop moving for a little while. Come back into you as you. So feel free to always return to what is safe and comfortable, which is why I think a million people like to do the same exercise every single time. Safe and comfortable. But let's move into something safe and comfortable. Hands behind your head, elbow to knee, crossing over, going 1. Contralateral movement, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Flexing, pushing through your heel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really reach with your heel. 6, long tube of the leg extending. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And coming in and down and relaxing into the floor and wiggling, wriggling. So I said this in a recent class. I do have a class coming up that I'm going to do in January 7th, which is going to be a 2-hour class, really working with Laban's space theory and also sort of embodying that, feeling into it, creating a relationship with it. And I will eventually put the link into this description, this comment section. And today is what? It's the 30th of November, 2022. So this would be happening January 7th, 2023. Inhale, lift, star date. Exhale, captain's log. Take it down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Flip your arms out, lift, and come down. And let's do it with arms, palms facing each other, down, palms facing up, come down, palms facing out, come down, palms facing down. And then leaving your hands on the floor, lift your pelvis, circle your pelvis. Imagine that you're doing this circle to release your upper back. So it's not that we're doing the circle to work our hamstrings and our back, although that is also happening, but we're doing it to give ourselves a little massage up here in the neck and shoulders. And as you're doing that, let your head free up a little bit so you're not locking it into place. Like, when my pelvis moves one way, it feels good for me to turn my head a little bit the other way. So listen into what your body wants to do. And you can just stay up over the top, side to side. So again, the idea isn't, oh, we're getting exercise so much as, oh, we're creating ease in another part of our body. For me, I'm really feeling my arms widening out to the side, especially as I roll across that one shoulder, and then slowly roll it down through your spine. Melting into the floor. Once you get down there, easy heel rock. Relax your neck, relax your jaw, relax your tongue. Send a ripple and a wave through your body. Even you can stick out your belly, right? So, I mean, oh my God, the horrors. Stick it out. You can even stick out the belly to increase that wave, right? So if I start working with letting my belly stick out, then there's a different version of the wave than if I just leave it relaxed. So there, I'm not doing anything with my belly. I'm just doing a little push-pull, letting this ripple up and down. But if I actually actively stick out my belly, it turns into a totally different wave, right? So we want to play with all the different ways, like sometimes doing it as relaxed as possible, and sometimes doing that little extra bit, right? Let's just do an easy loose knee drop from side to side. So sometimes we could think of like exercise or movement as clearing out the system, like shaking out the tension patterns a little bit. We're just readjusting stuff so we're not holding and gripping so much. A lot of times exercise is about holding and gripping more and more. What if it was about making movement easier, not making it harder? And it's both. It's all the things. We can do all that stuff in movement. Take it over. And I certainly like strength training as well and need to do it, right? But I usually use my whole class as my strength training. And then some in other ways as well. But like for me, it has to be fun and interesting and fairly dynamic. All right, let's do this with the legs up, knees in to start out, head away from your arms. So for me, I feel like this is a really important back health exercise, or even not even just back, whole body. Like we're squishing through the back. We're also getting the whole core to do that twist. So side, using the arms and back. If you want to straighten your legs, go for it. Oh, I got my nice creak going on with the floor. Me in the house having a conversation together. One day I'll be in a room that doesn't make all the creaks. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the conversation. All right, let's do this rolling across with an opening and closing. So this, we're gonna open out and fold it in. So just try opening and closing so you get that patterning in, radiating out into space and folding it in, opening and closing. And then we're gonna open and close onto one side and open and close onto the other side. Opening and closing, and feel free to flex your feet if you want. You can also flex through the heels of your hands, whatever feels good to you. Waking it up through the edges of your body. So from center out to the periphery, out to the very edge. And then let's come onto our backs and stay there and just circle wrists and ankles. And change direction. So as I circle my foot, I can feel how it changes the stretch in my leg, right? Just by circling my foot. Shake it all out, let it go. And let's do this exercise. So this is an exercise, how are we gonna do it? Let's do it one leg at a time. Yeah, maybe your arms are gonna get involved too. We're gonna do a theta breath, a soft hiss, and you're just gonna play with your foot, your leg, internal, external rotation, bending and straightening. Imagining that your leg is maybe more like a tentacle or some other body part that isn't human. I don't know. Or maybe imagining that you don't know what your leg can do and you're just finding out. So, and your hands may get involved too. That's fine. We'll just go with that theta breath just for a few, maybe a minute or two. If you feel like you're getting into like really familiar patterning, try to go somewhere different. Become curious. Go ahead and change legs if you're ready. Doesn't have to do the same thing as the other side did. Maybe one of your sides is more creative than the other. Good, and release and let it go. So a good thing to think about is that like embodiment and movement isn't just solely for the purpose of like burning calories or having a body that looks a certain way. Like if we really want to feel into it, it's an entrance to really presence, because we have so much sensation through our body and we can use it to just build our awareness and know what's going on. Also like healing parts of our body much more quickly when we have a relationship with them. Like, oh, I can relate in and understand more about what's going on in there by actually touching myself, by feeling what's going on, you know, all these different ways, or taking the time. Like for me, I've got this neck and shoulder thing going on. So if I spend some time down here on the floor, letting it unwind so that I'm not adding more attention or forcing more into it, I'm just allowing some of the stuff to let go, then it heals much more quickly. Yeah, and the neck and shoulder thing is definitely because I didn't do as much pull for a while, and then I started really doing it again. And so it's like, oh, my body's like, oh, okay, now we've got to adjust to that. So let's do the orchestra with our arms, just letting yourself conduct the orchestra in whatever way feels interesting. So for me, when I'm conducting the orchestra with my arms, I really feel it from my whole body, like my belly, my torso, my ribs are part of the movement of my arms. So inviting in a whole body dance, conducting the orchestra. And, you know, your orchestra might have instruments that nobody's ever seen before. They might work, you know, in different ways. Like maybe one one of the sounds comes out because of heat, as opposed to, like, who knows, you fire up the thing and it makes a sound or whatever. But just imagine that your orchestra is maybe very different than a traditional orchestra. And so the conducting of that orchestra could be very different how you conduct. And just evening yourself out. We'll just do this for another few seconds, a couple more breaths. But you could spend the whole day doing this, or maybe even 20 minutes. Play some music that you like and then conduct it. Let it come into your body. I mean, that's what dance is. And I always feel like music is just a map. Like you're using the music as a map to go somewhere. All right, let's come onto our sides and let's do this. A little bit more exercisey, coming back to being people in an exercise class. So both knees are going to be bent. Actually, do we want to do it like that? No, let's not do both knees bent. One knee is bent, one leg is reaching out. You're going to come up here. You could do this also with your leg underneath, but I'm going to stay here to make it a little easier for me right now. And I'm just going to make a big arm circle with that arm opening up. And I'm going to let my spine arch and curl with my arm circle. So, and I'm going to kind of follow my hand with my eyes. After I've done it 3 or 4 times, maybe 5, I'm going to change direction other way. So I'm freeing up rib cage, lungs, and heart. And I'm letting this mobilize. If I decided to leave my bottom foot on the floor, I wouldn't quite have as much access to mobility, right? I would be a little bit more stable because the muscles have to stabilize me, right? All right, change it to the other side. Swing your legs around, coming up. So in the Laban work, there are these major themes, and one of the themes is mobility, stability, right? Surprise, surprise. So again, big circles, rib cage, lungs, heart, head, tail, getting some mobility, and pushing the floor away with the bottom arm, the bottom leg. Change direction when you're ready. Yeah, this side does not feel as coordinated for me, or it has a different type of coordination, let's say that. But when I think about it, I can bring it back in, and I bring my awareness in. All right, and let's come down. And let's just roll that out again, massaging across your butt and your hips. We're going to change this massage a little bit. You're going to roll and just arch, curl your spine, roll, little arch, curl, roll, arch, curl, roll. So I'm letting that hand come up to get a little bit more into the arch. Curl and roll, arch, and let's circle the arm up and then bring it down, curl and roll, arch, sweeping through the arm up, curl and roll, arch. And one more time. Good, let's let that take us all the way back around. Keep circling all the way down to the floor, onto your forearms, and lift your pelvis up. Let's do knee to the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, crossing, twisting under. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then touching across. 1, 2, 3, 4. So parallel set. 1, 2, 3, 4, spiraling under, touching your knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, touching your foot across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and taking it down. Relaxing into the floor. Drop your head onto your hands, curl your toes under, push up and down, let it release and relax, melt. So this isn't going to be the same kind of wave when you're on your belly, but you could try it. Like if I pop my belly out, it does change it. It's not very wavy. Let your shoulders free up, circle them around. Maybe a figure 8, up, down. Let your scapula move on your back. So scapula, really mobile, lots of capacity for movement. We're not trying to just anchor them down and leave them there. We want them to be able to come up, to go down, to widen out, to narrow in, right? That whole wax on, wax off from Karate Kid. Hands next to your chest, inhale up, and exhale, lower it down. Inhale, lift, And exhale. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. And last one. This one, you can go ahead and try and touch your toes to your head. And then take your butt back. Child's pose. Breathe into it. Wiggle around. Soften and melt. Let your child's pose be childlike. Good. And I feel like I've been doing this for a while now, but we started kind of late. Let's come in. Let's just do a stretch to finish it off. So let's go with, I almost never do just plain old hamstring stretches, but let's do one right now. Walk your butt from side to side, just getting, so as we walk from side to side, we're massaging out that insertion of the hamstring into our sit bone, right? So we're giving it a little bit more, hopefully, pliancy. Move it forward. And then take it down and hang out. Surrender and melt. Let go. Breathe deep down into your pelvis. Breathe into your guts. In reality, you're not actually breathing into your guts, but if you breathe deep down into your lungs, your diaphragm will be pushing down into your guts. And you will get more oxygen into your body and more movement. So belly breathing. We really want belly breathing. And then come up and open it out, stretching over to the side. I look like Tintin, Tintin, with my hair. I just saw the shape. Oh my God. Open it up, side stretch. And lift, side stretch. And lift. And let's do a hip stretch. Let's do this one. So you're gonna cross your ankle over your knee, draw your leg up, and just draw yourself towards your leg. This may not be a hip stretch for some people, so you can also like grab on, draw it in. Yeah, if you've got really open hips, it probably won't be a lot. And I'm just going to show you sideways what you can also do. You can kind of pick yourself up and hang there, finding a place where you feel it. Good. And then when you're ready, unscramble, release, let everything get soft and easy. Switch it to the other side. So I can start here with my butt on the floor and still get a pretty good stretch, but my hips tend to be fairly tight. And then I'm going to come up and bring it in, hanging from my arms. And then release. And let's open it, just bang it out for a second. Open it up into a big straddle. We're just going to go down the front. So taking it down the middle in the straddle, let go. You can let your spine wave and ripple a little bit, feeling into your body. Yeah, and actually what I'm doing down there is working with my shoulders again. So I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. I'm here and I can circle my shoulders. You could do it up here too, circling in, letting your shoulder blades move. So again, we're shifting around that relationship. Most people in these days tend to carry too much tension up there in the upper back, neck, jaw, that whole area. So just giving you a chance to move the tissue, move the bones. And also, if we're moving the tissue of our scapula, we are also going to be moving the tissue inside of our torsos, inside of our rib cage, lungs, and heart, right? Mobilizing this is going to, on some level, mobilize what's underneath that, right? Maybe it's not going to be a huge movement, but it might be, right? If I really work this, then I get an arch and curl in here, and the same thing the other way, right? I feel like if we learned to move with and from our hearts, or just get that area mobilized, we would have a lot less heart disease, because it's hard for calcification or blockages in your arteries to happen if there's natural movement going on with the veins, with the arteries, with the heart, right? Getting the movement in there so that we have spaciousness and expansion and contraction, right? We have it all happening as our heart is beating, all that, those big spaciousnesses inside our body have space. All right, let's bring that in. And again, where we started, just roll across one butt cheek and then the other, feel into that. And then let's take our butts up to the ceiling, stand on your legs, open your feet wide, shift your weight from side to side. Oh, letting your head-tail connection really come online. I'm shifting, pushing with a foot, it ripples up through my leg, comes into my butt, and then ripples down through my spine. So there's a pushing with one foot, it ripples up and keeps going. There's an undulation in a way. Also a kinetic chain of movement. And then come in and roll it all the way up, coming all the way up to the top. And let's just play with the space again and just feel into, what is the vertical now? What is that up and downness? How does that feel in your body? Bringing your awareness back into that, feeling into that spaciousness. The space outside is the same as the space inside because it's just space, right? If I move through the space didn't change. I moved through it. And then side to side, finding the horizontal, opening wide, narrowing in, or opening, crossing, opening, crossing, right? Some people really don't want to cross. Let yourself collapse into that. Open, cross, soften in. And then with the forward and backward. Yeah, just when you got there, I changed it to something else. Reaching into the space in front of you, reaching into the space behind you, maybe pulling some of the stuff from the back forward. Is there stuff back there that needs to move forward? Or is there stuff out in the future that needs to go to the past, right? I can pull myself through. Anyway, enough of that. Inhale, open and lift, reach it out and up. Exhale, shake, 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 let it go. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. If something can't shake, there's probably a good tension pattern holding on in there. So see if you can let go of it. Anthony always does that. He goes, and he makes a lot more noise than me. So I'm like, oh, he's much better at releasing his space than I am. Alrighty, if you are there in TV land, please feel free to like and subscribe and maybe even someday join a class.